Well, thank you very much. We're now coming to the end, but I just wanted to take a few minutes to thank a few people, because these events don't just happen on their own, they happen with a lot of hard work from a lot of people. So first of all, I'd like to thank very much our very distinguished speakers for their time today, also to all of our panellists. I'd also like to thank our partner in putting this event on, JPX. We wouldn't have been able to do it without you. I'd like to thank also the volunteers from CDP who've helped us, and I'd also like to particularly thank the team at PRI that's based here in Tokyo. I think you know them all, but to Michio and Manako and Kaori for all of their efforts. So a big round of applause to everybody. And also to the interpreters at the back, because without them I wouldn't have been able to follow what was going on at all. So thanks for all the hard work that you've done. So over the course of the day, of course, we've talked about really what is a climate emergency. And I think that's come through that there's a lot of thinking going on here in Japan from both the companies, from the academics, and also from the investors. But I think the sense of urgency in the climate threat that we face was reaffirmed by the fact that for the first time the atmospheric carbon dioxide levels are more than 415 parts per million, and that's the highest level that we've ever known. And as I said earlier, we are definitely at a tipping point. Climate change, as I think everyone in this room can appreciate, is real, it's urgent, and it's irreversible. Central bankers and regulators have echoed Mark Carney that if some companies and industries fail to adjust to this new world, they'll simply fail to exist. So we need to adapt, or we will fail to exist. On top of that, investors who fail to respond will fail to prosper, and they'll also fail to fulfil their fiduciary duty, which was talked about in the last session, because part of fiduciary duty is making sure that we protect our investments for the long term, for our clients and for our beneficiaries. And TCFD really is the best available framework that we have for assessing risk and positioning your strategy for the low carbon transition for both corporations and for investors. So I was really delighted to be able to come to Tokyo to this event, and to be able to listen to all of the inspiring work that's going on here by all of you. And I'd like to thank you all for all the work that you're doing. It certainly makes our job at PRI much easier to know that we've got people listening at the other end, people who are using our tools and using the TCFD framework that we've put a lot of work into supporting. Obviously, it's an important year here in Japan with Japan hosting the G20, and the signals that come out of Japan, out of the G20, will be important, and I hope that there are some strong signals around climate, but particularly around the TCFD. The TCFD consortium, that's a joint ministerial collaboration of the Ministry of the Economy, Trade and Industry, the Financial Services Agency and the Ministry of Environment, is really an amazing initiative from Japanese policy makers. And I've of course learned throughout the course of the day about what a success the conference that you had during the last month has been, and I really want to congratulate everybody involved in the consortium for the work that they've been doing, and encourage you to keep it all up. And as Ed said, the next steps needs to be that we see those who've committed to the TCFD report through the TCFD and make sure that those reports are public. I'm quite convinced that the transformation to a low-carbon economy, or a no-carbon economy, because that's what we need to see, is underway. And I'm encouraged by what I've heard here in Japan, that it's underway here as well. And it does need to be a combination of not just what governments are doing, but we need to bring together the public sector and the private sector with government and with people in civil society, with NGOs as well. And that's what we've seen today. Government, investors and companies all working together to make a difference. So just in wrapping up, again, I'd like to thank everyone. I'd like to thank you for your hard work, and I look forward to hearing perhaps in 12 months' time where that TCFD is definitely gone to its next level. And I was talking to you all today about what people around the world have been doing on climate and on TCFD, but now I'm quite convinced that I'm going to be able to speak to the rest of the world about what Japan's doing on the TCFD and showing the leadership, and that others can get behind TCFD as well and really use it as that first starting point to think about climate strategy, to think about the governance of your organisation, to think about how you're going to measure what you're doing, and to really get moving on climate change. So thank you very much, everybody, for all of your efforts.
ありがとうございました。これで本日は閉会とさせていただきたいと思います。お集まりいただきましてありがとうございました。なお、同時通訳レシーバーをお持ちの方は帰りに必ずご返却をお願いいたします。ありがとうございます。ちょっとその前に、テクニカルだったら結構みんななんかもしかしたらドキドキしていたかもしれない。